Okay, I gotta turn the volume.
And we'll list our online attendees verbally, please.
Okay, the online ones or the present first?
I think just the online ones. There's a
Okay.
big enough crowd. We're not gonna go through everybody.
Okay. I've got Alexa Herda, Don Mucciaroni, Gary Mann, Mackenzie Mucciaroni, and just Georgina.
Okay, no public here. Any additions or amendments to the agenda? Would anybody feel like making a motion about the agenda? Thank you, Jackie. All in favor? Carried. Minutes of the May 30th meeting.
Mr. Chair, they appear to be in order, so I move the minutes of the May 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Kyle. All in favor? Motion is carried. Section 5, our delegations, our delegation doesn't seem to be here. Oh, they're just here. Okay.
Speedy.
I guess.
Getting good at this.
Do we want to skip ahead to the waste bylaw while they make their way in? Okay. Sure.
The table right.
Okay, the
Or the front table, whatever.
Whatever you like.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if our delegate was aware you called. or
Oh,
that
yeah,
you addressed
give
him.
them a minute to get
Okay.
sort of. Yeah, we're just at that part of the agenda now where the floor is yours. Do you want us to wait a couple minutes for more coming? Sure, okay. Then we will move on to our waste bylaw, section number 6.
Council has approved a continuation of our current waste removal contractor. Dialogue regarding various business sites that have high volume cardboard and waste is necessary. Within our current bylaw, they are viewed the same as residential. Large volumes of cardboard often get windswept and are not contained before removal. There are some sites where the volume of refuse and the items within present safety hazards for staff moving garbage bags. Our contractors requested that 4 cubic yard bins be used, and this service may be better served by having the businesses contract directly with the contractor. The bylaw requires revision. Attached is the current bylaw with commentary for possible changes. The bylaw does not address recycling services, therefore administration is uncertain if council would like to proceed with revisions to the bylaw as it was generated in 1999 or consider a new one. And so, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you wanted to go through in great detail regarding the bylaw, or if you were wanting me to see if there's a suitable one that can be obtained from a municipality nearby.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much sense it makes to go through it line by line at this point, if we have to change it to put recycling in anyway.
So currently are not commercial ventures responsible for their own?
We
uh,
kind of have a mix going on where there's some that are accessing the town service for a substantially cheaper rate. And then some that of course have larger volumes are accessing the services privately through their own capacity and contracts.
Because I did talk to a business owner who is on their own contract, like they have
Yeah.
to do their own contract. And he wasn't unhappy with that, like he thought it was, okay. As far as they have to arrange for their own, they make their own deal with it, the contract.
Yeah, they seem to provide, I think, pretty good service.
Can I ask a question? Is, when we talk about, them needing to, or larger users contracting, will that be the only way they can do it, or will they still have choice?
They'll basically need to get a contractor of their choice. Our current contractor is willing to offer them, a rate directly. That is, well within minutes or like community standard or business standard.
But there would be no option to continue the way they are.
Correct. Yeah, we just have some that, have so many boxes of cardboard that aren't secured, or the refuses of maybe animal parts in nature. And so then, we've got a contractor where they're having to lift bags or cans and dump these items, where realistically they should be a larger bin and not subject to a person having to handle them.
This would be for all commercial? Doesn't matter the size of the.
Yeah.
Has there been dialogue with the Chamber of Commerce or a similar group on this potential change?
Not so far, no.
Ominous.
In the vegan candle.
It's that bylaw with the words out the window.
So do you think we need dialogue with the businesses before we make a decision?
I think so.
I do too.
Okay,
Just because what's the difference in cost that you know?
I don't know
I know that.
off the top of my head.
Like my business accesses their own service from the same service provider, so I'd be happy to share
Okay,
our information as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
sounds good. Yeah, well, and I guess I can get a list of the chamber members that, receive garbage service or whatever. But,
My other comment, I think the mayor addressed it though, is while we're looking at this, like, this is a fairly long waste removal bylaw. And so I'm wondering if there is value in us looking at starting from a cleaner draft. and then
Yeah.
down the line. It's just so many edits would be necessary, and then we have to go through it again and see if the edits conflict with anything that we didn't change. So I'm almost wondering if this should be a clean slate.
And just make sure that there's probably some standards that have changed. Since 1980.
well, and it's just kind of tricky finding a comparable bylaw because many communities have like the rolling totes that contain garbage. And so this one addresses where people are required to have cans and ways to secure their refuse and stuff, right? Because we're still having a manual pickup versus having an actual tote that they come by and stuff.
So is the recycling a separate component to this? Like, is recycling one thing and garbage pickup another? In relation to the businesses, like, do they So they pay for somebody to pick up the garbage. And the recycling, like, do they have to contract with somebody to do that, or does,
Again, with a
town-
large volume, so let's say, for example, a grocery store. If there's a grocery store in town that wants to just get their service through the town, then they would for the same residential price, where clearly the volume of boxes they have is greater than what a residential use would be.
So Brian, again, my business, we've got both garbage and recycling contracted to the same.
through the same
provider.
service?
Yeah, and so the way that it works is you pay a monthly fee and then, we've got it set up so that, our bins are emptied as we require them to be.
Okay,
And
so you just
we
call
make
it
a
in.
phone
Okay.
call to say, hey, just the garbage is picking up with just the recycling is up, or you can have it scheduled.
Oh.
And so basically you pay per.
Okay.
dump. Yeah. So that could end up being cheaper actually, so depending on how it needs to be done. So for us
Okay.
during the slower months, we can go 2 months
Yeah,
Right.
which,
instead of weekly.
One of the questions I had, and it's comment 14, so it's under refuse receptacle section 14-4. The comment asked about chatting with contractor for weights. Is this referring to having a change to the weights, which in our bylaw appears to be a maximum of 50 pounds? Like, are they indicating that weight is inappropriate?
I wasn't sure if there's anything like by OH&S legislation, that was
That is-
the,
Anything over 50 pounds, you have to have either a second person or a mechanical assistance.
Okay, so that 50 pounds is like
Okay.
just the.
and so just cursory review of the bylaw. I wasn't aware of if there was a standard maximum for the safety of the operators.
Yep.
on section 35, number 1, I think there's a typo there. Because it says a fine not exceeding $20, and I think probably that is meant to be not less than $20. I
Again, this is like from 1999.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine you getting.
Well, section 2 says of not less than. in the next one, so
Yeah,
That's a good catch.
I just don't see a fine of $3 going up. But I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Well, one of the comments in another section is about enforcement and should we have an enforcement section? Because realistically, everyone can capture people, but I think there's been incidents, I believe, in the egg grounds and the lake recently where we know we've had people dumping refuse in
Yes.
town. So when we look at a revision or a new job, I would very much so like to keep an enforcement section within that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. So. we'll bring this back.
I think so.
We can bring this up the new bylaw.
we need a motion.
But it's up, it would really, you would have to determine what is the most important.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Making that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Can you repeat the motion louder?
I make a motion that the administrator presents us a new waste bylaw, or if she determines that it is of less work to wordsmith the old one, then that. It's up-
A new
at her
or
discretion.
revised
A new
bylaw?
or revised, one, right? At the discretion of the town administrator.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Do we also want to make a motion to connect with businesses or connect with the chamber to connect with businesses or something like that?
I think that would just be part of
Do a
doing
letter.
research. That's it. You ready? Okay. Welcome. Traditionally, delegations, they're allowed up to 15 minutes, but we'll, that's fine with us. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Reading everyone. Which literally means one who speaks the truth. Also have a name from the Stony town. 30 years ago. That one is standing there, but I can't say the stone. Because I'm not saying the things pretty. Anyways. I'm an elected counselor, legal time. One of one person in Massachusetts.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. We'd like to hear you.
Yeah. Elected counselor at legal time. Legal, one of the good persons. For your information, we're in 26th territory. That's why I was in 26th territory. I have a map here. that I'll share it. Some other educational something that I'd like to be able to read. But anyway, I'm honored to be here in 26th territory in Bashaw, Alberta, with our Massachusetts First Nation, namely Ernest and Louisville. Montana and Sampson. I was given the unenviable task. We come in earnest. In hopes of coming to terms with our wishes through mutual respect and understanding. Our experience has been unpleasant, to say the least. Messages have been deflected and met with indifference. It's been hard to break it. A little bit about myself. I'm 63 years old. A single parent with 3 sons and 3 daughters since 1994. And the thing we're working on, I could have used back then. I'm also a grandfather to many. I'm a tradesman. I'm an electrician and a boilerman. So I've maintained buildings for a better part of my adult life. I'm fluent in my first language, which is Plains Cree. Attended residential school. Second largest in Canada. Luckily, I was a day scholar, which meant I got to go home after school. But it doesn't mean that I didn't feel or see the same trauma. You know, this past April 1st, I reached 2 milestones. My 32nd year of sobriety, and my 43rd year as a tradesman. Sobriety is what I'm most proud of, because it has allowed me to realize my full potential. I felt compelled to be here, hoping to dispel myths about my people. We are not government boards nor dependents. My people are proud. We believe we're spiritual people living in the physical world. That is what separates us from other cultures. Our wealth is not defined by how much money we have in a bank account, but rather by family. Our wealth is immeasurable. and priceless. This is when I started, but in my honor, some of our scholars, our academics, helped me with this. I'm gonna honor them by reading this out for a few minutes, but, anyway, I'm gonna tell a quick little background story. In 1744, over 2,000 native tribes from all over North America, which we call Turtle Island, said because it's shaped like a turtle, had in a place called Stadacone, which is the old Indian name for Montreal. Before it was colonized with an English name, Montreal became the first fishing city in Canada. It was here that our people signed a treaty with the Crown to affirm that our First Nations government will coexist as sovereign alongside settlers. This is called the Niagara Treaty. Then the same thing happened in 1763. When the Crown signed another treaty with First Nations after the 7 Years' War, affirming all the land west of the 13 colonies in the east from the Laurentian Appalachian Mountain by New York all the way west as First Nations land. This treaty is called the Proclamation of 1763. It is the First Nations version of the Proclamation of Independence. Our people lived many generations along settlers coexisting on Turtle Island, contributing to society and teaching settlers, working the Portsmouth fur trade, eating bison hunts, and manufacturing and selling furs and other worldly goods for European export until Canada was formed in 1869. Around this time in 1876, our people in Treaty 6 signed a treaty with Canada affirming peace and friendship with settlers based on the Niagara and Proclamation, sharing our land and territories, not just our reserves. In exchange, this treaty provided us some rights with food, medicine, education, and agriculture from the government, much like Canadians gain with municipalities today. But the Indian Act was unilaterally formed right after the treaty was signed, whereupon our treaties were breached and our people were segregated into reserves and residential schools in Canada so the land could be opened up. Fast forward to 1982, and Canada created a Charter of Freedoms known as our Human Rights Laws and repatriated the Constitution. By including all these amazing human rights for everyone, including the pre-existing Aboriginal treaties, into law, revolutionizing life and liberty for all Canadians and First Nations, starting the reconciliation process. I am here today in the spirit and intent of peace and friendship. Which are people signing the treaties, which are considered the founding documents of the Canadian Constitution, where both Canadian rights and our shared Aboriginal rights are enshrined together as friends. Our Treaty 6 rights are contained in Section 35 of the Constitution and Section 25 of the Charter. I do not expect you to remember these numbers today, but every Canadian should learn this. Like every Canadian should know our Constitutional Charter. Our people reaffirm that we recognize Canadians as our sacred brothers in treaty. We treated as sovereign peoples, so we may coexist in mutual respect, as promised, self-governing as friendly neighbors, helping each other in our shared territories, vice versa. I'm also here today to express support of the proposed Family Wellness Center, Prairie Hills Family Wellness Center. Our nation has partnered with the program as an expression of self-governance, which is now supported by the Royal Commission of Aboriginal Peoples' recommendations, United Nations Declaration of Indigenous Rights, Truth and Reconciliation, 94 recommendations. And the Murdered and Missing Women's Report recommendations as part of reconciliation. Foster healing, self-determination, wellness and personal liberty. Indigenous people in honor of our living, breathing trees and basic human rights. In the health sector, to foster society wellness, Health Canada recognized that what are called social determinants of health. A holistic approach to healthcare is to identify, treat, and prevent adverse outcomes to help close the gap for at-risk to marginalized people. Investing in them mentally, physically, socially, and economically. To add to the collective well-being of society as a whole. This includes early intervention, children and families. Using Indigenous social programs to foster education and health, using both wellness treatment and prevention measures. Canadian social determinants of health module harmonizes with the First Nations traditional module, which is based on the interdisciplinary approaches to health and wellness, using a culturally appropriate lens to distribute health care. Our Indigenous ways teach us to support future generations by healing the present, by using our 7 values: courage, truth, respect, love, honesty, wisdom, and humility. We base our teaching on personal responsibility and way of life. Rating our teachers with other proven sophisticated holistic health sciences, and we deliver this type of healthcare in a culturally relevant environment. This is our right enshrined in international law, such as longevity in our Constitution. The Bear Hills Family Wellness Center model is an interdisciplinary approach dealing with intergenerational trauma due to the legacy of our residential schools, family trauma, and other life stresses which Canadians deal with, or parenting stresses with teenagers, adverse influences, grief, loss, and alcohol or drug influences, sex abuse, or other life issues. Every person who will attend the wellness center facilities will do so their own freedom. Some people conceive of social programs as being welfare dependency-based models. We will look at this holistic model is a model which promotes self-determination and independence, which you might call liberty, investing in our children, youth, and their families. Revenue Canada also acknowledges that social impact of corporate modules and nonprofits are a form of citizen determined self-governance. It's designed to reduce short and long-term government spending and uplift communities as more sustainable, thriving, regionalized level. Participants at Muscogee's facility will be able to reside in a school-based environment while undergoing individual and family therapy. The center will offer cutting-edge programs based on a successful ISAP model, teaching certified emotional intelligence courses, wilderness programs, personal development, and life leadership courses designed by PhDs with our people and delivered in a culturally relevant setting, moving to increase self-esteem, engagement, and resilience. The program will have 24-hour support on site. Even though the boards and members self-determined care, it is not the Wild West. Residential programs like this in the healthcare sector must also follow the Alberta Mental Health Act under Health Canada. This act is very strict with firm licensing requirements and health and safety protocols designed to mitigate and prevent risk. With all the checks and balances in place, such as inspections, investigations, and enforcement, as any other residential wellness program, which most responsible communities have in one sort or another. However, this program meets the requirements set out for reconciliation for 3 to 6 people. Most importantly, the program is designed as a holistic model to help keep at-risk youth connected to their families, to reduce the systemically unjust high child apprehension rates our people endure. This type of holistic system is recommended by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, Section 1 through 5, 18, 20, 21, 43, 45, etc. On December 15, 2015, the Government of Canada committed to implement the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 recommendations as a guideline for all government civil officials, professionals, and service workers. Right here, later. I encourage every Canadian to read these guidelines. However, for the sake of time frugality, I would like to take the liberty of quickly highlighting a few of TRC principles which the proposed project will tackle so that government can meet their recommendations, including elected council like myself who are eager work with municipality in June 6th. TRC recognizes that the current overrepresentation of First Nation diversity in children and families is proven to be a direct result of residential schools and past and current government policy. Directly, indirectly, or by default. TRC calls upon all 11 levels of government, federal, provincial, municipal, and Aboriginal and councils to develop, support, and offer culturally safe parenting, treatment, and education programs in a culturally appropriate environment to promote health and healing, and to reduce child apprehension in a fair and timely manner, both on and off reserve. In fact, gaining access to reserve healthcare has been a problem for First Nations historically and currently due to assumed false stereotypes and unjust jurisdictional loopholes. Province and municipalities often have slowed down or denied healthcare programs to First Nations, often assuming that the government for First Nation bands to deal with issues on reserve only, which causes many of our people to fall through the cracks. This is why the Jordan's principle was recommended by the Truth and Reconciliation in Section 3, then enshrined into Canadian law by the Canadian Human Rights Commission and Tribunal, based upon the principles of Andre. The Government of Canada website states, Jordan's principle is a legal principle designed to address gaps in government-funded services, and discrimination can result in delay, obstruction, or denial of services to First Nations children in their reserves and territories of reserve. Children and youth should be able to receive fair, equitable, and timely access to the services they need of reserve, supported by all areas of government. Bashaw, town planners follow the municipal bylaws. Municipal governments have regulates municipal assessments for projects. As such, I understand as per section 298 of the bylaw, the only type of projects that do not require municipal assessment in the council are projects on land natural resource projects, and essential service businesses such as water, sewer, electric, hydro, farming, and manufacturing. Unless the property is on Region 7 or First Nation Reserve. This project is on private land in a municipality off reserve in our shared jurisdiction territories. As such, the Jordan's principle will apply to the municipality to try and expedite the city. In addition, I also understand that the town council has 20 to 40 days to respond to applications for business permits regarding land designation in a credible manner based on section 683 and 684 of your MGA. Muscat Chiefs, First Nations government, and the First Nation government partners have made applications to Bashaw municipality 3 times since May 2021. And the project has been consistently rejected 6 times as incomplete and delayed with elongated response times and requests for reapplications based on claims that the farm's answers were incomplete or misunderstood. The project has now taken 20 days times 20 or 40 days times 10. And it's still not decided. I'm here today to express Muscat's government support for this project in partnership with Areas Family Wellness Center based on the principles that I have outlined. Work together with Bashaw there. Equitable access to health programs for our communities, First Nations, both on and non-preserved. The government is committed to invest in this project and support it as a positive expression of due diligence towards a better future with Albertans. Youth are recognized as our sacred children. We must be invested in, connecting past and future, present and future. They will lead the next generation, will carry the generations after this. I just want to highlight some key points here. It took 480 days to be invited by council to speak on this post center. Here's how long it's been since this first approaching it now. In that time, we could have healed and brought wellness at a minimum, over 25 families, over 125 individuals. In that time, we could have employed at a minimum 26 people. In that time, we lost multiple opportunities for funding. Council requests. The request and terminology publicly documented and requested of us by council have been demeaning, insulted, and humiliating. For example, how each bed will be utilized, lockdown hours, curfews, weapons and illicit drugs, supervision plans, consequences, addressing crime and safety of neighboring residents. Our clients have been called patients. No matter how many times we have tried to explain they are not sick, in need of care, or are required by any legislation in Alberta to be supervised. The requests made of us by council have infringed on our sacred way and forced us to exploit our culture as though it were a simple medical procedure of sorts. In the information, we have always answered council's questions. We have asked for meetings and for direction and have been ignored. We have always tried to build a relation with the CAO and council, but not until today. We're not invited, included, or welcome. We've been told we didn't give enough information, then too much information, then still not enough information. treatment or rehabilitation definition. Western terms have become a way to make treatment or rehabilitation words like disgrace, have a negative impact and form judgment to look down upon those with addiction issues or in need of mental health. Explain what personations believe in all this. Expertise have their own addictions. Centers for overall wellness and be culturally based program for families to improve wellness. The building was decommissioned and then recommissioned in 2016 to 2017. Has been in operation ever since. Council has treated this building as though it had not been used in decades. The use of the building has never had any similarity to what we want to use it. It was licensed, has never lost its license, which means it has all inspections as well. Has been approved by this very town where seniors lounge, event center, festival center, retreat center, and various congregate living. We are no different than these types. Now burden. It would not be a burden to the town of Bashaw. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'd like to pass these on.
Please.
The shaded, the middle part of the street, the signals were there.
Thank you.
For the background.
Usually more at the end. We raised them last, a little bit delayed. My name is Gio. But I did bring here today to staff information. So there's that document.
Dignitaries are chiefs.
Yes, thank you. Just a few minutes of your time. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for seeing us, Stephen. To the people of Bashaw here, to the administration, to the student council, thank you for this. Hopefully, I'm not sure my words will help, but I'm going to give this a shot. It's not lost on me the way it is. I'm a federal penitentiary in my action. I get it. Okay, I get it. I understand. This is a decision you have to make. So the way that what you're considering is not lost. I became chief. It was my mandate to try and get rid of the prison. I didn't want to put it in my background. To be honest about it, I'm trying to understand what's going on. Okay, it's not lost on me. So when I became chief, I looked into it, and you know, I went to visit staff, and you know, our federal, it's not federal penitentiary, but you know, start off the community lodge, there's go 25 visits, start off the community lodge, trying to deal with women, and over the years, the government of Canada, and Corrections Canada, slowly changed the implementation of the freedom, you know, with our business. So all of a sudden, fences going up, lights going up, and it's sort of being the prisons, you got this kind of community. And I guess coming from towns where I can't speak for all formations, but this is a formation project. We do come together trying to figure out how can we work together, try and make a difference for the people in our community. The same way you guys do for that, or just trying to figure out how do you make the best decisions for the community. Okay, so I understand the way in which you want to do it. So when I became chief, I thought, well, okay, I better go find out what this prison is. I went, I knocked on doors, I met with them. And just slowly understanding the place, how it works, meeting with the staff, meeting with the people who work there, meeting with the inmates, you know them all, right? Just casually, I want to go for my own opinion. And the right now mine is powered by innuendo, powered by rumors, powered by conspiracy theories, a whole bunch of stuff, right? And what I found in, in the place that changed my mind is that, I have 27 band members there who work there. Families, I don't have worries about them. Working with them over the years, I've gotten everything out of my air costs. I work in kind of secure food contract. Let people guys are working. So when we think that I'm not still over time now, I'm now disappointed. My irony is my son is 26 years old. And my me now get a job here, which is great stuff. It's kind of fun. But I understand that I'm not here to one those sunshine just happen to shade. It's their compensation. I get it, right? I guess for us though, like there are times when our people constitute need help. From Samson, I guess I can speak from the history of Samson. I've been in leadership for 15 years. Council for a few terms, I've been the chief for 2 terms. And I got elected in the height of pain. You guys don't know this, all of them. It's the number one media for game in we were going to count our time. We're sitting out. We don't come in solutions out of this. And I got elected. There's a small core of us that try to tackle it. It's on. And you don't hear about us. So I want you guys to face it head on. It's our problem. We'll find our solution. For us, we found it. We found it. But what we did, we chose to send support to their work. We never blamed the kids. We were just evidence of something going on. And so we started sending down support to them. We started creating more than helping the outreach team. When I became chief, I bought vehicles for every one of our employees and said, people are not doing this. I want you guys out of the office. I want you mobile. 2 years before the pandemic, we created one of our community moves, right? And for our first community move of gangs, we kind of lift that layer off our community, kind of brought in family support, try to support families that were in crisis. And we kind of got a good handle on it. It's not perfect, or it's only here about the media. Okay, we arrested a whole bunch of our sociopaths, and now having to deal with them all released. So they're coming back to our community. Our next one was pursuit. That's always been. We're averaging 12 to 18 years. And so we decided to go after it next and create a mobile mental health. Right? That's a few years ago. And 2 years before the pandemic, our suicide rate was successful. Out there in the crisis of people, getting people through the trauma. Right? We created an outreach team from that, so our mobile mental health team would pass on to that second level. And these are people who got fans for it, so go knock on people's doors, go ask them, what do you need, what can I bring you, what can I bring you. We're now going to talk about what the next one, our next meeting with drugs and alcohol, but we only need voices. Sorry, look at what's going on so now. We found mental illness. Mental illness is huge. Bigger than 75% of our claims are about drugs and alcohol, and our paramedics, and bipolars and depression and anxiety. Mental illness. That's what we're focusing on next. We're going down the layers of our community. Along the way, our mobile mental health team was created by Seascape. It was not in my community. These are really bad. Smith now running the amendments to these guys helping us with that. So that's a real problem with me. Look at the people I see. You want to end this service and kind of the point is, we are doing our job. That's why I'm really cheap. I'm gonna try to figure this out, but people are going to fix it. Fortunately, everyone wants something. We ask for help, we know we can get help. We can help. The way it works, you have to decide. 400 days, again, that they will be the cheap people. So we under the bus about this. Sadly, one year, we have my decision about. I get it. You know, you come around, people come around, council trying to, work with you, is this a good thing for our community? No, I understand. So I'm just kind of here to ask, we're here to ask you about. You know, it's trying to help our people, explore our, doing our best, it's trying to help. Our team's not perfect. When I send my outreach teams, I tell them, I'm not after the straight end. I'm not after a single row of motor and it's happening around. I just need to have a function. We can go back to something. We're going to sell ourselves, but one of the problems that I have in Sampson, we're a 12 of our First Nation in Canada. I'm running on stage. Our language doesn't go. That's part of our problem. We don't have. Wish I had.
Thank you.
My board member that represents on women's ceremony. But I'm glad that you heard of Councillor Ray Mogas. That this issues, cases, communities, programs, and now done that cheap. Sound not good. It's really focuses its yes to make the learning stuff. You have to understand where we're coming from. And the line of view. That is started from creating opportunity for us and creating this relations. We're not going to come up with answers today or next week, but I'm sure this is how we will come up with solutions. We want to have to plan. That I'm really sure once we come up with a decision that we, whether it's yay or nay, we'll make it work somehow. Thanks for your time. Allowing us to be.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for our delegation?
Are we
addressing the application or just the presentation?
The presentation.
I do have a question. And I'll address my question to any of the leaders in this room, and it's a rhetorical question, but I just need a little bit of help from you, and I'm hoping I have the audience that can deliver that for me. So it's a hypothetical. I want you to pretend for a moment I'm a member of your community, and I come up to you and I ask for you to explain, give me the elevator pitch of what is happening in Bashaw. What is the project that you envision? What do you tell me as one of your residents? What is the 1 minute summary of the purpose of this facility?
I'll answer that question. That's the reason why, is because I actually sat down, you know, to explain what was going on with this project. And basically, I said there was a family wellness center out in the community of Bashaw that would be provincially and federally funded by the village principal in partnership with the town council. Now, this would also create those, not only create those partnerships, but I believe I remember at the open house, I was Kyle and Cindy. Yeah. And at that time, I didn't remember.
We were.
Oh, you're a counselor? Oh, okay. So let's just remove our counselor tax. Addiction, right? It's everywhere. And it comes in many forms.